Welcome to the Mindcut series.
Great to be diving in again.
You know how we do things here on the Deep Dive? We take a whole load of information, your shared sources, and really boil it down.
To the essentials, yeah. The stuff that actually matters.
Exactly. Today, we're jumping into navigating these uncertain times, building up that resilience we all, need. And we're drawing from a really interesting conversation with Dean Graziosi. Think of this as like your fast track to getting properly informed. You get the practical strategies, the principles behind success.
And maybe a shift in perspective, too.
Right. Without getting totally lost in the weeds. The goal is those aha moments, that deeper grasp, but done well efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. And today we're digging into some big questions, things probably top of mind for a lot of people right now.
Like what specifically?
Well, how do we find that inner strength, that resourcefulness, when the economy feels shaky?
Okay, yeah. Crucial.
And what about money? What's its real role? And what actually changes when we stop, constantly worrying about it?
The impact of financial security.
Exactly. And then there's the past. How do our past pains influence what we do now and what we aim for in the future?
That's a deep one.
For sure. And then, getting practical, what steps can we actually take to build a more resilient, maybe even a recession-proof mindset?
Actionable stuff. Love it.
And finally, what can we learn from mentors like Tony Robbins, especially when things get tough? We'll unpack all of that.
Okay, let's jump right in then. That first core question. How do we build up that inner muscle, that strength and resourcefulness, when everything feels unpredictable? Graziosi makes a really interesting point straight away.
He really emphasizes that, all the external tactics for getting ahead financially,
Like investments, business trends.
right, they just don't work, not sustainably anyway. If you don't have that inner security, that confidence deep down, it has to start from the inside.
It's almost backward from how most people think, isn't it?
Totally. And he highlights this surprising fact. A lot of Fortune 500 companies were actually started during economic downturns.
Wow. Okay, why? What's happening there?
Well, Graziosi's take is that uncertainty makes most people insecure. They hesitate. They basically, as he puts it, sit on their hands.
Right, they freeze up.
Exactly. And that hesitation, that widespread pulling back, it actually creates this unique space, an unfair advantage, he calls it, for the few who decide to push forward.
Okay, so while the crowd hesitates, some people lean in. But what powers that? What's the fuel when things look bleak? What separates the ones who thrive?
He points to two really crucial things. First, you've got to find a deeper level of hunger, a drive that isn't just, based on whether the market's up or down.
Something internal.
Yeah, often it comes from a really powerful, bigger why, like protecting your family or making a real difference. That inner fire just keeps burning no matter what's happening outside.
That makes sense. If your motivation's anchored deep, the external storms don't knock you over so easily.
Okay, and the second ingredient?
The second key piece is actively modeling proven practices.
Meaning becoming obsessed, really, with finding and learning from people who've already done what you want to do.
So mentors, books, podcasts.
Exactly. Anything that gives you a kind of blueprint. It provides shortcuts, helps you avoid the mistakes others already made.
So learning from those who've already walked the path instead of trying to figure it all out yourself from scratch. Like getting a map for the jungle.
Precisely. Graziosi sees it as finding those shortcuts, avoiding the known pitfalls. So for you listening, when things feel uncertain, maybe instead of just reacting to every news story.
Or market dip.
Right. Focusing on strengthening that inner drive and really learning from others, that can be way more powerful. It's proactive learning, not reactive scrambling.
That's a really powerful reframing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift to the second big question, the role money plays.
Yeah.
And the impact of getting past that constant financial worry. Graziosi uses a great metaphor here.
Yeah, he compares money to oxygen.
Oxygen, how so?
Well, when you have plenty of it, when it's just there, you don't even think about it, right? It just sustains you.
You take it for granted.
But when it's scarce, when you feel that financial squeeze, suddenly it's all you can think about. It colors every decision, and it really stops you from living fully, pursuing other things.
It's like the air thinning in a room. Everything else just fades away as you focus on breathing.
Exactly that. Graziosi saw it happen with his own father. That constant financial struggle, the lack of oxygen, it seemed to just choke his potential, prevented him from being fully present.
So achieving financial freedom, it's not just about piling up cash, is it? What's the real win?
The real value is freeing up all that mental energy, that emotional bandwidth that's constantly tied up in worrying about money.
Ah, okay.
It lets you redirect that focus towards, well, personal growth, pursuing passions, doing things that actually feel meaningful. You get your focus back.
Graziosi also gets pretty personal about his own journey with money, doesn't he?
He does. He says he initially chased success, that financial security, partly to escape the pain of his childhood, to finally feel in control.
A common driver, I imagine.
For sure. But as he hit those financial goals, he had this realization that the money alone wasn't fixing the deeper stuff. The internal wounds were still there.
So the external success didn't automatically heal the internal issues. Something was missing.
Precisely. And this led him to what he now sees as the biggest positive byproduct of his success.
Which was?
Having the opportunity, the mental space really, to finally face that past pain, to actively work on becoming a better person, forgiving his father, healing, being a better husband, friend.
It's like getting the money situation sorted gave him the breathing room needed for that deeper self-improvement.
Exactly right. He also mentions this idea of leverage beyond money. Sometimes, a really strong internal driver, like a fierce determination not to repeat your parents' mistakes, or just a deep desire to become a better version of yourself that can actually be more powerful than just chasing dollars. It boosts your resourcefulness.
Yeah, I can see that. That internal, I refuse to go back there or I must become this, can be incredibly strong. Which kind of leads us perfectly into the third core question. This interplay between past pain, present actions, and future dreams. The question put to him was basically, would it be better to deal with all that past trauma before you start trying to build wealth and success?
It's a fascinating question, right? And his answer is quite nuanced, maybe a bit unexpected.
Oh.
Well, he used to think his past pain was the main fuel for his drive, but now he actually leans towards thinking that healing first, while keeping a kind of controlled connection to that past pain, would have been better, healthier.
Controlled connection, what does that mean?
He uses this interesting analogy like having nitrous oxide in a race car.
Like a temporary boost you can tap into when needed.
Exactly. Not having it be the main fuel all the time, but something you can strategically engage for a burst of motivation, then let go.
So learn from the past, maybe use it occasionally, but don't live there.
Right. He warns against letting your drive come only from that place of hurt or lack. He calls that a starvation mentality.
Starvation mentality. Interesting term.
Yeah. True thriving, he believes, happens when your basic needs are met and your hunger comes from something bigger, more positive, more aspirational.
It's that classic difference, isn't it? Running away from something bad versus running towards something good.
Precisely. He really stresses shifting from just moving away from pain to actively moving towards pleasure and a compelling future.
And what drives him now?
His current drivers are all about serving others, making a big impact. Things like feeding millions, building schools, helping during crises. That's his compelling future.
Wow. So his why totally shifted. Yeah. From escaping the past to creating a better future for others. That's significant.
Huge shift. And he argues that having that compelling vision for tomorrow is crucial for being happy and effective today. Especially, when the world feels full of negativity and fear that can just drain your hope.
Yeah, it's easy to get bogged down.
Absolutely. And he connects resourcefulness, courage, confidence directly to how strong and clear that future vision is. If your why for tomorrow is powerful enough, you'll figure out the how for today.
He even mentions examples of successful people who hit rock bottom but pulled themselves up by focusing intensely on a better future.
Exactly. And it boils down to a choice we all face, doesn't it? Are you willing to do the hard work now, maybe make some sacrifices for a much better later? Or do you settle for comfort now and risk regret down the line?
That's a tough question. So, for you listening, what is that compelling future you envision? What dream is big enough, exciting enough to pull you through whatever challenges you're facing right now? That's something to really sit with.
It really is. Okay, let's move to the fourth core question. This is more about the practical side, strategies for rewiring our thinking, building that recession-proof mindset he talks about.
Right, the how-to.
He first emphasizes creating a culture of progress, not perfection or comparison.
Focusing on your own journey, your own growth, instead of trying to be perfect or constantly looking at what others are doing. Run your own race.
Exactly. And then he gives a very actionable 4-part framework for hitting goals, a real system.
Okay, let's break that down. What are the 4 steps?
First, set one goal. but make it so big, so ambitious, it really stretches your imagination, forces you to think way outside your usual box.
Not just a small step up, but something that makes you gulp and think, whoa, how could I even do that? That kind of goal.
Precisely that. Second, once you have that huge goal, figure out the key things holding you back, the main constraints or obstacles. And here's the key part. Focus on tackling them one.
Ow.
One.
Don't try to move the whole mountain at once. Just focus on the first big rock in the way.
You got it. Breaking it down into manageable, solvable problems.
Well,
third, you have to measure your progress diligently.
why is that so critical?
It's vital for keeping motivation high. Seeing tangible proof you're actually moving forward, even small steps, builds momentum and keeps you in the game.
Like seeing the score change. It keeps you invested.
Absolutely. And the fourth, final step, set an absolute deadline.
Ah, the deadline. To fight procrastination.
Exactly. It creates urgency, stops that tendency we all have to just put things off forever.
Okay, that makes a ton of sense. Big, inspiring goal. Identify and tackle obstacles one by one, track progress, set a deadline. Simple, but powerful. He also talks about focus, right? Like one thing at a time.
Yeah, strongly. He advocates for tackling one critical goal with intense focus to build real momentum. Spreading yourself too thin just dissipates energy, like a laser versus scattered light.
Okay, so for you listening, how could you use this framework right now? What's that one big, maybe slightly scary goal? And what's the very first obstacle you need to clear to start moving towards it?
It's about making it real, actionable. Okay, our fifth question turns to lessons learned from Tony Robbins, especially during tough times. They obviously have a deep connection.
Yeah, he mentions learning from him for decades, first through content, then as partners. What's a key insight from recent years?
Graziosi shares a couple of really potent ones. The first was during that massive shift to virtual events, during the pandemic.
Right, everything changed overnight.
As they were scrambling to adapt, Robbins pointed out something crucial to Graziosi. He said being fast, being efficient wasn't enough. Real effectiveness in that new virtual world demanded considering people's emotions, really building connection.
Ah, interesting distinction.
Yeah, he used this striking analogy, saying Graziosi was being efficient, but maybe like a stepdad, doing the tasks, but missing that deeper emotional bond.
Wow, that's blunt but clear. Efficiency is about output. Effectiveness is about impact and connection. Especially online, you have to be so intentional about relationships.
Exactly. It really drove home the importance of inclusivity, of co-creation, not just telling people to plan, but bringing them in, making them feel heard and part of it.
Okay, and the second big lesson from Robbins.
The second one is all about authenticity, integrity. Graziosi talks about how consistent Robbins is. The public persona matches the private person.
Being the same person everywhere.
Yeah, he highlights the kind of ease and power that comes from just being one person. No masks, no different versions depending on the audience. There's a real freedom in that alignment.
That congruence between your values and actions, whether you're on stage or just chatting with someone. Makes sense.
Definitely. So for you listening, it raises questions, right? How can you maybe balance efficiency with real effectiveness in what you do? And what's the true value of building genuine, authentic connections?
It always comes back to those deeper human elements, doesn't it? Now, near the end of the conversation, Graziosi mentions this free training he and Tony Robbins are doing. It's called Thrive in 2025, happening May 15th to 17th.
Yeah, this training sounds like it's specifically for people feeling maybe stuck or unfulfilled in their careers.
Or maybe business owners struggling to get traction.
Right, or just anyone who feels ready to take real action towards a more meaningful, more prosperous future.
Okay, so what's the main angle of this Thrive in 2025 thing? What are they teaching?
The core idea is helping you turn your own life experience, your skills, your passions, into information products people value.
Like creating memberships, online courses, books, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Using what you already know to help and teach others.
And why now? Why is this area, like information products, so relevant?
Well, Graziosi points out this knowledge product market is booming. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry growing fast. People are constantly looking for expert guidance, to learn skills, solve problems, reach their goals.
Makes sense. So what specific topics are they covering in the training?
They'll get into the nitty-gritty, how to figure out what unique value you offer, how to package that knowledge effectively, different ways to sell by serving people, and how to build an audience that actually cares. Plus, they've got some big names joining, like Matthew McConaughey and Jay Shetty.
Wow, sounds pretty thorough. What's the main message they want people to walk away with?
The really empowering core message is simple. You are enough. You already have valuable stuff inside you, experiences, knowledge, and with the right plan, the right guidance, you can achieve way more than you probably think right now.
That's a great message. So if people listening are interested, how do they sign up or learn more?
The link to register for the free training is thrive750.com. That's thrive750.com. Definitely worth checking out if any of this sparked an interest in sharing your own knowledge.
Fantastic. Okay, well, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly revisit the main themes that jumped out from Graziosi's insights. We really hit on the power of that inner hunger, right? That internal drive that keeps you going no matter what.
Mm-hmm. And the importance of looking past just the money goals, dealing with the underlying personal stuff that might be holding you back. That inner work is key for lasting success.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sheer necessity of having a compelling future vision, something inspiring that pulls you forward through the tough spots.
And we also looked at those practical tools, like that 4-part goal framework for actually taking steps towards what you want and building that resilient mindset.
So for you, our awesome learner audience, we really hope this dive gave you some valuable nuggets, maybe a fresh way of looking at things as you navigate whatever's going on in your world.
Definitely.
And on that note, here's one last thought to chew on, building on that idea of the good old days. Think about this. Are you actually recognizing and appreciating your good old days right now? Even with all the challenges? What tiny shift in perspective might help you find the value, the growth in what you're experiencing today?
That's a powerful question to end on. And again, if you want more practical guidance, check out that Thrive in 2025 training at thrive750.com.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. We really encourage you to think about what your compelling future looks like and maybe take that first small step towards it today.